had not responded to treatment. I was getting worse, and the doctor had come to see, and at this point, he says, I've lost her. She's gone. And I thought, well, who's he talking about? But just before this, I had been in terrible pain. I was just hurting so bad, I wanted to get away from it. And there was this slight buzzing at the ear, and I felt myself pop out of the body. I don't know how I came out. I was just suddenly out of the body. And I sat down on the head of the bed a minute to look around. Then I felt myself float up to the ceiling, and I was looking down, and he said, she's gone. And I couldn't believe it, and I thought, well, who's gone? And I was trying to look down to see. And I felt presences with me. Guardian angels is what they were, but I called them guides. All of a sudden, I'm aware of people out in the hall. The room had been sealed off because he was going to do surgery in the room. So I immediately went out through the door, did not open it, just went out. I was immediately on the other side of in the hall. But I go up to my daughter, and I try to make her hear me. Kathy, go home and change your clothes. I couldn't make her hear me, so I went to her dad. I said, Judd, take Kathy home, change your clothes. She should be out like this. While they were in the hall, and I was trying to send them home, a brother of my husband came up, and he was talking to him. He had gotten word to come. And one of his neighbors was also in the hospital, and he came up and started talking to my brother-in-law, wanting to know what he was doing at the hospital and what he was going to do that weekend. He said, well, it looks like my sister-in-law is going to kick the bucket, and I was planning to go to Athens, but I'll stick around now to be a pallbearer. Later, I was also able to talk to him. He didn't want to admit it, but he did admit this is what he had said. And I laughed at him because it embarrassed him. And this time I'm thinking, I want to see my sister. So I immediately find myself in Rockville, Maryland at her home. And she's getting ready to go grocery shopping. She's wearing a beige suit with a green blouse. She's had to go over the house and look for the keys that she'd misplaced, had to find her grocery list. And finally, she walks out her front door to get in her blue Monte Carlo Chevrolet. And I feel there's no need for me to go to the grocery store with her, so I let her go on. And I'm going to pop over then to another sister who lives a few miles away from her. And this other sister had already left home. I was able to determine she had gone grocery shopping herself. So the guides asked me, was I ready to leave this area now? And I agreed, said yes. About 2 weeks after I had this near-death experience, I was in contact with my sisters, and I brought this fact up to her and described, and she said, well, how did you know? I didn't see you, you weren't here. And I'd lost a girlfriend in the polio epidemic in the 30s. I think it was 38, but I'm not positive of that date. And she assured me that everything was fine and she was happy. And I also saw my grandparents coming to meet me. I had never known my grandfathers. They had both passed away before I was born. But I did know my grandmothers and my mother also. And as I'm there, this baby appears to me. And he says, hi, I'm your brother. And I said, I don't have a brother. And we don't talk as I'm talking to you. There was no way of misunderstanding. It was more like it was mental telepathy. And he shows himself to me as a small infant, dressed in a cap and a little long dress with a knitted sack over it, booties and socks, and tells me, look me over now and remember how I look this way. And you can tell our father when you get back, and he'll tell you it happened. And when I was able to talk to him, my dad said, well, I don't know how you knew that, because nobody but your mother and the doctor and I knew about these things. I don't know exactly how I entered the tunnel, or just at what point, but it was when the guides had asked me And I said, yes. And I feel myself going in an upward motion. The tunnel is not too big, just seems for one person to go one at a time. It doesn't touch you. I didn't reach out and touch the walls, but it's black, and I feel myself going up and looking at light, bright light at the end of the tunnel. And the next, as I'm going along, I see the gray area, but I did not stop to go in and see just what was going on. I went on to come out into this beautiful pasture valley land, flowers, bright, beautiful light, brilliant color. Nothing here is like it at all. With the light, there is this panoramic view of my life. It starts with birth. It continues right on to where we are at this point. All at the same time, I am part of the view as well as watching it. I am actually doing these things. I guess it's a speeded up version of a camera that just runs double time or something. But I actually had the feelings of what was going on as I saw it, and also standing off to the side and being able to look around and look at the different things that went on at different times in my life. And what I had always thought was important and nice things I had done, they didn't even count for anything. It's the little unknown things that you do for one another. And love there is always helping to give others a love and helping hand along the way, and at the same time you're benefiting because you're receiving also. Had a lot of effects in changing my life. It's made me a more understanding person of others. I know I don't have the right to take my life. Didn't want to return, and I would love to go back. Someday I will, and then I hopefully can stay and not have to come back and try again. But I know I cannot take my life and go there. Things would not work out right. But I think I'm a better person by watching for the needs of others and not being always selfish. Oh, I'm still selfish. I'm still a human. But it has changed my way of thinking.